everybody, and welcome to another week of Without Having Kicked a Ball. It's that time again where we delve into a football frenzy and dissect the top four divisions. Joining me today is TubeMix. Hello.
Hello, Ben. Good to be here, and good to be with you as well, George. Great to have you back on the show as well, and raring to get going.
Yeah, and as Will said, he's back after about 3 or 4 weeks. It's Jordan. Hello, Jordan.
Hello, mate. Yeah, great to be back as the resident EFL expert.
Yes,
So
we've
much to talk
missed
about.
your swagger, George.
So much to talk about within the Premier League and the EFL. Sackings, new managers, interesting stories. So let's get into it.
Yeah, as you say, it's going to be a jam-packed show. But to kick off this week's show, we're going to do something slightly different. And that's because we forgot to do it last week. But it was well reported that Mikel Antonio suffered a bad car crash. He broke his leg, needed surgery on. So we just want to say we wish him well and speedy recovery. You know, he was a stalwart for West Ham, particularly under David Moyes, part of the Europa Conference League squad win. So we wish him well. Now to kick off the football aspect, we're going to start off on Super Sunday. It was the Manchester derby at the Etihad between Manchester City and Manchester United. It was an enthralling game, particularly the second half. United won that 2-1 in very, very dramatic fashion. And to start off with our analysis, I'm going to come to you, Will. What were your thoughts on the game?
Well, so I followed the game on live text, and judging by a lot of people saying it wasn't a great quality game. I was talking to my dad yesterday, and he was saying, well, both teams were, not great. When there's a derby, often there's a tendency to, because both teams are scared of losing, that they park the bus and make it tight. And clearly, that was another example of that. The most standout thing for me was not in the game itself, but Marcus Rashford and Garnacho being left out of the squad. Pretty extraordinary. I just want to say my views on the Rashford situation first, if I may. I think he's good as gone. He's admitted he wants to leave. Left out of one of the biggest games ever for United of the season, and I think he's as good as gone. I'd be very surprised to see him still be there.
Yeah, I think it's valid what you say there. I think me personally, as a United fan, I haven't been happy with Rashford for a long while now. Don't think he puts enough effort. Having said that, he does get scapegoated a bit too much, I think. But as an academy lad, as a United fan, you'd expect him to do more. And my view on it...
he should be a role model, shouldn't he?
Yeah, and to be fair to him, he has been, especially off the pitch. But
sorry, just to interrupt you, Ben, but also apparently Amad Diallo was the only United player to shake the hands of the City players and to Pep Guardiola, so he showed what class he has. What a fine man.
Yeah, I think he's got a big future at United, but my feeling on Rashford before I go to Jordan, not keeping waiting any longer. Is that is best for both parties? Is if we move on, I feel like. But over to you, George.
Yeah, I watched the game. I think that because it's been so long that I've not been on the show, we haven't really got any of my thoughts about the Amorim era so far, or the City capitulation really either.
Yes.
And I think that it was a massive game for both sides, because I think Amorim is talking all the right talk, and you can see what he's trying to do. And United definitely look better, but they are absolute, like, in terms of what I thought results would be, I don't think they've been anywhere near as good as I thought.
Slipping up
Because
against Ipswich Town and Nottingham Forest.
I kind of thought, and that's no disrespect, like Ipswich were incredible in that game. They were great. Forest were fantastic. But when you look at it, it's not good enough. Now, I understand realistically that it's the profile of the team, but anyway, we're not here to talk about Amorim as a whole. We'll get onto that another day. For City as well, it felt like if they were ever going to do it, announce that they're back and this is them.
What better way to do it than a derby?
Yeah, especially with, as we'll talk about later on, but also a trend of the last couple of weeks has been Liverpool dropping points, Arsenal dropping points.
Yeah.
The only team that has consistently picked up points in this period is Chelsea, and that shows. But in terms of the game, I thought the quality of the game was pretty poor. I think that in hindsight, it was very obvious that the exploitation point was Ahmad up against Matías Núñez. Matías Núñez playing at left back. Didn't have a terrible game until the obvious flashpoint, which was giving away the penalty, which I thought was probably the most blatant penalty you will see in the Premier League this season. He's absolutely clattered him. And Bruno Fernandes sticks it away as you kind of just got that sense that this was United's moment. Just got the sense that was the turning point. Now, something that I brought up amongst a Man City supporting friend of mine is they've just kicked off. Ball over the top for Ahmad. So much room in between the two centre halves that is absolutely schoolboy. Take nothing away from the finish from Ahmad, because it is genuinely world class. A throwback to one of those classic Fergie time moments, and Amorim, referenced it.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. I was reading his post-match interview, and I didn't expect him to mention Fergie time specifically. That was funny.
But at the point where you've won the Premier League 4 times in a row, you've just not long won the Champions League. To do that, to leave that much space for a player who is absolutely brimming with confidence at the moment, and quite rightly, because in terms of standout players, I would say that he was the only one for both teams. That is, by the way, that I genuinely felt looked like a world-class player. I thought the rest of them looked pretty average. Now, obviously, that's not forgetting that Bruno Fernandes scored the penalty. I'm not really a Bruno Fernandes fan. There's lots of reasons for that. I'm not gonna I don't really even think the celebration towards the City fans. I just ended up, but I'm not a fan of the way that he conducts himself on the pitch as a leader or as a player in games anyway. But obviously Kevin De Bruyne's ball in for Josko Gvardiol is genuinely class. But overall, I do think the only world-class player on that pitch that day was Ahmad.
Yeah.
And And just to carry on what Will said and then give my Rashford opinion, I think the main reason you've got Ahmad going over and shaking the Man City players' hands and Pep Guardiola's hands is he's just won that game. He's just won a derby away from home. He isn't going to give a shit what kind of game it is. He's just created an iconic moment. And that is an iconic moment because it's an absolute worldie of a finish. The skill, the angle.
I disagree. I think it's down. He was the only one of that squad clearly to have a good attitude, to show good sportsmanship.
Yeah, but Will, he's just
won
the game.
You shake the hands of the losing team.
Yeah, but yeah, that is true. That's good etiquette. But what I'm saying is, he's going to be buoyed by the fact that he just won that game. He's just done that, and that's probably one of the main. He's going to want to go and look them in the face and shake their hand and say, "Yeah, fuck you, I won this game."
No,
yeah.
no. That's absolutely not what he was thinking.
Listen,
it was.
Listen a second. I'm gonna throw something out there now.
Okay.
So that before I give my opinion, this is what I will say first. That there is 2 minutes of absolutely madness. Every single United fan, United player will forget how to conduct themselves in those 2 moments because it's absolutely madness. It's absolutely bedlam. And they would have probably just wanted to come and celebrate with their own fans. That's my take on it, because obviously being there, I was just focused on the absolute madness of the moment.
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying that he's not done that as a touch of class, because it is, but I think there's something about a derby. Let's say I was a Crew player and I just scored, right, against Port Vale in the 90th minute, whatever, to win the game.
Yeah,
they don't want to shake my hand.
Fuck the Vale.
They don't want to shake my hand, but fucking hell, I'm going to shake theirs. I want them to see that I won that game.
Yeah,
and I want them to see that I'm the bit.
In my view, if I was a player, it would be down to sportsmanship and attitude, not because I won the game.
But not only that, Will, I'd want to prove, and this is what I like about Ahmad, is he's got this kind of quiet confidence. I'd want them to see that I am the big man. I'd want them to see that. And I do think that is class. I think that is class. Just before Ben moves on, I want to say about the Marcus Rashford situation. I feel like there's already some kind of breakdown in the relationship between Amorim and Rashford. I think that with the way that Ahmad played and has played since he's come in, you can't really complain about the drop-in of Garnacho or Rashford either. And I think that one of the cornerstones of this bad period for United, and one of the when United finished second under Ollie, who's the main man? Rashford. But in all the time, every time United have been up, he's been up. Every time United have been down, he's been down. So I think that maybe that's what the fans and the pundits and the media are going to say, that he is the, he feels like the heartbeat of this United team. But because he's a Manchester lad, if the team are in a bad spell, he's going to feel that more than anybody. I would be absolutely amazed if he left because of the connection he has with the club.
That is very true.
But if he's turning around and saying, I think it's time for a new challenge, and then Amorim is saying, oh yeah, I've read all this, if he's got a problem, he should speak to his manager, it's not looking good.
No.
Not looking good.
No, and I think, as I say,
Amorim even alluded to that, if he said, if it was me, then I would speak to the manager first before blurting out publicly.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah. You make valid points. It's definitely going to be interesting to see if he stays or goes. And winning the derby without Rashford, who is on paper one of our biggest names, it's an intent, not just for the starting players, but from the manager as well. Now, before we move on, I'm just quickly going to give my view on the game.
Yes.
Obviously, I was there. I got to my seat. Very hostile atmosphere, which I quite liked on Derby Day, you know. You want to be able to absolutely hate them for those 90 minutes, and not even just the 90 minutes, all year round. I think, as you said...
I think you're going a bit over the top there, Ben.
No, I don't think so, Will, because I think that's what football's all about, you know. And as you said, it wasn't the best quality game. I will say a couple names who neither of you have mentioned, who I thought were good. Were Maguire. Now the reason being, because he's been out injured for 2 or 3 months, and he defended aggressively against Haaland.
Which he does, doesn't he, with his physicality?
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't have a sniff. Now, okay, Haaland and City are out of form, so it's probably not going to get recognised as much as if they were in form. But I thought he was good and deserves a mention.
Yes.
I also think Ugarte was good, and he was a real disruptor. You know, he did the simple things well. Won the ball back, passed it forward. Won the ball back, passed it forward. And I think he's really grown into the team and into the stature of playing for United. Now, Ahmad, as Jordan said, is flying at the moment, and long may it continue. You know, as a fan, being there is definitely top 3 games for me. Those 2 minutes of absolute madness to win the game, for me, is what football's all about. You know, because...
Here's a question for both of you. So, just before we move on. Are City in crisis, do we think, now?
Yes, they've been in crisis for weeks.
I think so.
They've been in crisis for absolutely weeks.
Yes, I know, but I just, you know, how many results
I think
to be a crisis?
But there's 2 things to this. They're not going to sack Pep Guardiola, because no matter who you bring in, nobody has the pedigree of Pep Guardiola currently in world football, apart from Ancelotti, who has already had 2 jobs in England now and probably wouldn't come back to England, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Don't know what anybody else thinks about that.
With Real Madrid, isn't he, generally?
Well, Real Madrid and Barcelona are both struggling, so probably all right in that sense. They'd probably still win it. But the concerning thing for me is Pep Guardiola, in his post-match, says, I'm not good enough. The best manager of this generation. And it's not, it's I don't really want to use the word I'm going to use, but that's how I see it. It's the sort of self-harm that he does to himself, the scratching of his head, like his head at the end of games. He's covered in bruise. Like, I've never ever, I don't know if you've ever seen this ever in professional football. I've never seen a manager do that to themselves.
No, I haven't.
Well for City.
I haven't, George. But do you know his "I'm not good enough" comments? I believe he's done that on purpose, if you like, to sort of try to take the heat off his players and put more of the heat back onto him. But
I think as bad as
but
they've been recently as well, it's worth mentioning that as bad as they've been recently, I think that's the best I've seen them play during all this time.
yeah,
Because they have been terrible recently. Like realistically, apart from the capitulation 10 minutes from the end, they were the better team. They should have won that game. But
yeah.
football is football.
Just touching on that, Joe. It's funny you say that because in the stadium and people around me and my opinion, for example, I was with my brother and he said to me after Bruno Fernandes missed that chip, he said to me, "That's it. That was the chance. It's not gonna be our day." And I said to him, I still believe we're going to get a chance or two because in the stadium, you just felt it. City, the fans around, they were anxious, thinking, is it going to happen again? And thank God it did as a United fan. But,
I thought it was
yeah,
going to be a draw, going into the game. I thought it was going to be a draw because both teams were sort of not in good form.
great day and great memories to look back on and remember, and that's what football is about, isn't it? And
Yeah,
hopefully,
let go on.
hopefully,
I think you were about to say what I was going to ask. So I'll go ahead and ask it. Do you think then that this is the start of a bit of a run for United? Do you think?
well, I was about to say,
Yeah,
hopefully, we can go on and run, and it can be a springboard for us. Because as we know, football comes in peaks and troughs,
Well,
and
yes.
okay, it hasn't been a perfect start for Amarim. It's still been topsy-turvy to an extent, but at least we can see a style and patterns emerging, and I feel like other people can sense finally we may have the right man. So here,
you know what my opinion is on United, and I feel it.
They're
I
not going to
feel like
finish in the
this is
top four, I don't think.
no, I don't. I'd be surprised if they finished in the top six, but I I feel like this is it for United. I feel like this is what they were waiting for. I
yeah,
feel like the way he's handled everything, even the Rashford and Garnacho situation, perfect.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He's showing discipline, isn't it?
I think he's
Isn't
doing
he?
everything right, and and the one thing that helps, and this goes to all of the league at the moment, from the top to the very bottom. There's no consistency in any team in the league at the minute, apart from Chelsea,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that leaves time for United to get on a run and get up there. It also leaves time for City, even how bad they've been, leaves time for them to cut the gap.
Yeah,
So right now the league is as open as it's been for a long time,
yeah,
which
Yes, I
exactly.
which
agree.
is exciting.
Yeah.
Like, for example, United right now, we are 13th, probably the lowest we've been at this stage, but we are
Yeah, not
six
even
points.
Moyes and Van Gaal finished there.
We're 6 points off the top four, so anything can happen. But we should move on now to Liverpool v Fulham. I could sit and talk about United all day because it's very interesting, but positive signs there. Now, I'm actually going to kick us off with Liverpool v Fulham for a change, and that is because I want to pick up on what they said on Monday Night Football, and I thought it was some brilliant analysis. I don't know if either of you watched it, but they
No, I
said
saw the
basically,
highlights of it. I think it was on match of the day, because what was it? It was Saturday, wasn't it? Liverpool played Fulham.
Yeah, Saturday. Well, basically, Jamie Carragher and Thierry Henry broke down Slot's tactics and how he basically dragged Liverpool back to gain a draw. Now, that was because Liverpool went down to 10 men following Andy Robertson's red card.
It's a bit strange, wasn't it, that when you'd expect him to know better than that?
Yeah, sometimes you can get swept up in the moment, though. So, yeah. But basically what Slot did was he put Gravenberch back to centre-back when they were without the ball. And then when they had the ball, he went to his more customary midfield position. And then later on in the game, when Fulham went 2-1 up, he did another tweak, and that was he put Jota and Núñez on, and Gomez went to left back. And what it did was he forgot about the midfield and just focused on the defence and attack, and that ultimately led to a numerical advantage for Liverpool, and basically that is how they salvaged the draw. So I thought it was absolutely brilliant from Slot, and it's still an example why managers are so important. So I don't know if any of you Go on, Joe.
I want to just build on that, really, because I think that he is a fantastic tactician.
Yes.
I think that, like, everything that he has done, like, built upon Klopp and the subtle tweaks. We've talked about this before, we definitely have, but like you said, the manager is so important, and also that kind of the director of football upwards structure that Liverpool have got to pick out this what feels like a fantastic Klopp replacement. It's just fantastic. Again, you know, Robertson red card, silly. Fulham deserve credit, great team. Like Marco Silva is same as Nuno Santos, you know, but that's for, you know, when we talk about them at some point. Marco Silva is doing a fantastic job.
He's at the right club, isn't he?
With a really solid team that over the time he's been there, he's slowly built the team up into this kind of mid-table team that could even break through to the top.
Yeah,
now,
I completely agree.
For Liverpool, you've got Gakpo is somebody that I see scoring so much recently.
Yes.
And I think that he's one of those
assists as well.
Yeah, he's one of those that's found it difficult. He's one of those that's found it difficult for game time in the current system. But when he comes in and he makes an impact.
I think 7 goals in 10 now for Gakpo.
Yeah, he's class. He's class, and I also think that it's pretty clear that he's a key component of that squad. Having Jota back in and around it and scoring goals
is for Liverpool. Great player.
Is always going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Like Will said, I've always felt that Jota is very underrated, but that's mainly because he goes on a run and people say how good he is, and then he gets injured.
Fit, doesn't he?
Yeah. I also want to mention Anthony Robinson. 2 assists, the American left back.
He's great. He is.
It's just one of those players that's just got to the next level, and I imagine there'll be a bit of a war for him within teams within the top 6.
Yeah, and
I can imagine it.
just
You know,
building on Anthony Robinson a second, George, is 2 or 3 years ago he was due to go to AC Milan, and it broke down.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
To come back and sort of in the frame of mind where he's going to perform so consistently week in, week out. When a move like that breaks down, you have to commend his mentality.
I agree.
yeah, that was when he was. That was when he was at Wigan. They were in administration, and they needed to sell the best players, and obviously he was like the top one. And they ended up selling to Fulham, but he very nearly went to AC Milan as well.
That was right.
And I think they ended up buying. My timeline might be off, but I think they ended up going for Serginho Dest on loan from Barcelona.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing loads. So it's also the fact for Robinson that he might. It's also the fact that not only did he miss out on that move, but he also could have, got himself in that squad, which then obviously ended up winning the Scudetto, which is obviously Serie A. One of the things I want to say about Robinson, as an English-born left-back that plays for the United States, I wonder whether he looks at that now and looks at the left-back spot, which is a problem position for England, and think, fucking hell, I could have made that my own.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Speaking of teams who need a left back, United need a left back, and he's been linked with United. So
they need to get rid of Luke Shaw. I think you need to sell him.
No, he's class when he plays, Will.
Yeah,
but if a player cannot make themselves available enough, you have to get rid.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when fit, he's up there with the best, one of the best left backs in the world. But because he's not available very often, I think we might have to look at shipping him on. But just one more thing to say about Liverpool from me before I go on to you, Will, unless you're not finished, George.
No, hold on.
Yeah, so Slot, his proactiveness paid dividends, and I think that's why obviously managers get the big bucks, because we've seen the likes of Russell Martin get sacked for his stubbornness and unwilling to change. And yes, that can be commendable, but the little tweaks you make for systems and things can be so valuable, and we saw that with Liverpool on the weekend. But
as we said on the show last time, Ben, good managers have to be able to play more than one way.
Yeah, exactly. Any more thoughts on Liverpool, Will?
Well, yes, I just want to say I think fantastic result for them, down to 10 men to get a 2-2 draw. Again, showing their,
I think it's poor, personally. I think you'd still be gutted with it if you're a Liverpool fan.
Yes, of course you would be gutted because they've drawn rather than won. Of course, I mean that's obvious, but still, it shows that they seem to be really good at comeback and not.
What do you think, Ben? Do you think it's a good result or not?
I think in terms of the result, I don't think it's a good result, but in terms of how they took in Slot's instructions, I think that's a positive. So I can see both sides, but in terms of an actual result, I think it's you'd hope for more.
Oh yes, of course, yes. But in the context, being down to 10 men and to get a draw like that and not lose is still a good result in my eyes.
Yeah, well, they've got a tough game on Sunday away at Spurs. So interesting to see
They've
what
got
they do
Spurs,
there.
have they?
And yes, they do have Spurs.
Right.
And
Let's
it'd
see
be
which
interesting.
Spurs turns up.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like, as you said, we're Jekyll and Hyde for Spurs.
Yeah,
But
Jekyll and Hyde FC. Yeah.
any more on Liverpool before we move on?
No, I'm done. What about you,
Not for
George?
me.
Yeah, so the final game we're going to talk about is Wolves v Ipswich. Now, the final nail in the coffin for Gary O'Neill.
Yes.
The atmosphere at Molineux at the moment is rock bottom.
Got a bit vicious, didn't it, towards the end?
It did. They've just today announced the appointment of
Vitor
their
Pereira, isn't it? Or, I don't know how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, Vitor Pereira.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what he can bring, but he has a big job on his hand. I think first port of call is to get the players' morale up, get the fans on side again.
Well,
because
maybe tighten them up defensively as well.
Yeah, so the set piece woes out, but on the flip side for Ipswich, great result, and that puts them back in with a shout for staying up, in my
They seem
opinion.
to be doing, out of the teams that came up, they seem to be doing pretty well, just being unlucky on results, but performance-wise, they do generally tend to
Yeah,
do well.
I think it's first of all, it would be remiss of us to talk about how absolutely terrible that first goal that's conceded is. The Matt Doherty own goal. It's an absolute shambles. It's so terrible. And first of all, on Gary O'Neill, feel really bad for him.
Yeah.
He'd obviously lost the dressing room, and that was quite clear.
Yeah, because
After the
he
last
said in
2
his
weeks.
interview, sorry to interrupt you, George, but he said, this is
Sorry?
the worst time, I can't get them to do the basics effectively.
Yeah,
I,
and
I think it's also very. I will get to it in a minute, but I don't think he'll be out of a job very long. I think the main thing for Wolves is the defence. Vitor Pereira is a complete unknown to me. I had a quick Wikipedia of his honours. Seems to have had an incredibly successful few spells with Porto over the last few years, but other than that, not much to write
is he
home about.
Portuguese? I assume so.
Yes, yeah. So it's probably one of them because they've got George Mendes on the is on the board, or he's to do with the club, isn't
He
he?
was, I think, but I think he's not now, but he certainly was because he was a big influence in them bringing Nuno.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And just
Could be
to
wrong,
jump in,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's left.
it'd be interesting to see if they try and revert back to something similar under Nuno. Obviously, he's his own man, of course.
Yes.
But it'd be interesting to see if they revert back to something similar. But
Yeah,
sorry, George.
it's all right. It's a really good result for Ipswich. Obviously, they've still yet to win at Portman Road. Jack Taylor or Joe? It's Jack Taylor, I think.
Jack Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, with the winner. Good for them. Still think they'll go down, but they're definitely putting up a good fight.
Yeah, I was just about to say they're fighting. Yeah, some teams you can tell when they've not even got any fight in them, but no, Ipswich is one of them.
No matter where Wolves are in the table, which I think they're second from bottom,
they're not going to go down, are they?
I still think it's a very exciting prospect for any manager because they've got two number ones in Sarr and Johnston that are both sort of mid-table Premier League level in goal. They've they've got players like Doherty and Semedo that are very good. In midfield, you've got guys like Tommy Doyle that are really exciting. Obviously, in attack, you've got Hwang, you've got Cunha, you've got Strand Larson, you've got Bellegarde, Guedes, who I think has come in and done really well for Wolves recently, despite them not playing the best. So I think it's a really interesting job for any manager. And even if they do get relegated, which I still think they've got enough to stay up.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go down.
Tell you one thing though, they haven't replaced Neto or Kilman very well, and I think we've spoke about that before.
They need to get a new defender, I think, in the January transfer window.
And regardless if they stay up, they'll have a job of keeping Cunha, because what a player he is.
Well, to be honest, and I don't know whether you think this is a bit too far or what, but I think he's a top 4 player.
Yeah, I agree.
But I can see him sort of having a Mateus Nunes role at a top 4 team where he comes in, but I imagine it's more kind of like Jota, who slowly got folded into a Liverpool. I could imagine Cunha doing that.
Because when Jota came, there was still Firmino and Mane there, wasn't there?
Yeah, the final thing I wanted to say about this is I don't think Gary O'Neill will be out of a job for very long, and if I could see him going anywhere, I think he is tailor-made for West Ham, because he's played at the club before. He is an English manager.
He's a football player.
Yeah, he was, Will.
Right.
He's an English manager with relationships with some of the players there. And the sort of style of football that he plays is not dissimilar to, wouldn't be a massive transition for players to go from Lopetegui to O'Neill, which is what they did at Wolves, go from Lopetegui to O'Neill.
Yeah, history may repeat itself, maybe.
So if you wanted me to if you were a betting man, which I am, I would put some money on O'Neill to replace Lopetegui, because I still think time's running out for him, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
I'm just going to throw something into the fire for us all to give an opinion on. And some people might say, oh, it's excuses, and maybe so, but I actually think VAR and the PGMOL have a lot to answer for O'Neill losing his job. I don't know what you think.
Well,
interesting.
Maybe,
I think the most...
Maybe they've certainly contributed a little bit towards that, but at the end of the day, clearly the players are responsible as well.
Yes,
The most contentious VAR decisions have gone against Wolves.
Yes.
In the O'Neill era, I'm thinking about the Onana one against United. Was it last season?
Mm-hmm.
With Lopetegui, man. No, it wasn't. It was Gary O'Neill, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
First game one day.
But like Will says, I think that it does have a part to play, but ultimately lost the dressing room.
It's not the main reason, I think.
I think it's got a bigger factor than some other managers being sacked, because Wolves have been unlucky with the VAR for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in my personal opinion, it's a balance of both, although they do have a lot to answer for. I think they've got blood on their hands, but the players needed to do more. It'd be interesting to see this new manager, as we said, because, Lamina was stripped of captaincy. We had Nori throw a wobble, so are the players' heads in it? And that's the task this new manager has on his hands. But unless there's any more from any of you, over to you, Will, for the rest of the results.
Right, thank you very much, Ben. So, Nottingham Forest 2, Aston Villa 1. Milovinkovic in the 87th minute, assisted by Morgan Gibbs-White. Then Anthony Elanga, former United boy, in the 93rd minute, assisted by Elliot Anderson. And who else? John Duran in the 63rd minute, assisted by John McGinn. Okay.
Score was 2-1.
Yeah, another 2-1. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Ipswich Town 2. Matthias Cunha in the 72nd minute, assisted by Gonzalo Guedes. And then Aitnori got a red card in the 95th minute, and as well as his goal. And then for Ipswich Town, Matt Doherty with an own goal in the 15th minute. Then Taylor in the 94th minute, assisted by is it Jack Clark? It is, isn't it?
Harry Clark.
No.
Jack Clark. There's both of them, yeah.
Oh, it'll be Jack Clark. There's two Clarks in the Ipswich team.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Right. Newcastle United 4, Leicester City 0. Not a good result for Ruud van Nistelrooy. Jacob Murphy in the 30th minute and in the 60th minute. Isak assisted the 60th minute goal. Then Bruno Guimaraes, have I got that right?
Guimaraes.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Right. In the 47th minute, assisted by Lewis Hall. Then, as well as getting his assist, Isak in the 50th minute. Let's see. So hang on, just looking at the assists here.
Anthony Gordon assisted Murphy's first goal.
The 30th goal. Yeah. Isak in the 60th minute. Oh.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. And Isak's goal in the 50th minute. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Right. Was it a penalty?
No. He headed it across to Isak for one of the assists, and then he put.
It was Isak in the 60th minute that he was assisted. I'm just getting a bit confused because Isak scored in the 50th minute.
Yeah. So his goal was Hull put it into the box, and it came off Connor Cody, and Isak headed it in. So there'll probably be no assist for that one.
Right, okay. Sorry, just got a bit confused there. Right, Liverpool 2, Fulham 2, what a game. So Andy Robertson, as we said, got a red card in the 17th minute. Gakpo in the 47th minute, assisted by Mohamed Salah. Then Diego Jota at the 86th minute, assisted by Darwin Núñez. For Fulham, Andres Pereira in the 11th minute, assisted by Anthony Robinson. Then Rodrigo Muniz in the 76th minute. And then also... Robinson assisted Munez's goal in the 76th minute. Okay. And then the final one for Saturday is Arsenal 0, Everton 0. And I should just also say Everton's takeover by the Friedkin Group has been approved today, so that concludes Mashuri's ownership. So we'll see what that has in store for Everton. Right, we move on to Sunday the 15th of December, and we start with Southampton 0, Tottenham Hotspur 5. The Saints do not go marching on. Tottenham Hotspur put them to the sword. James Maddison in the first minute, assisted by Spence. Then Kulusevski in the 14th minute. And James Maddison scored on the 5th minute, added on to the 45. Then Son Heung-min in the 25th minute. Oh yes, sorry, Son Heung-min also assisted Maddison's second goal as well, and Pape Sarr in the 25th minute, and Son assisted that. Right, okay, so let me just get it back up. Right, okay. Chelsea 2, Brentford 1. Cucurella in the 43rd minute and assisted by Madueke. Then Nicholas Jackson in the 80th minute, assisted by Enzo Fernandez. And as well as getting his goal in the 43rd minute, Cucurella was sent off in the 98th minute. Mabuemo in the 90th minute to get the consolation, assisted by Shard for Brentford. Okay, we move on to the Manchester derby. Manchester City 1, Manchester United 2. Guardiola, is that how you pronounce it?
Guardiola, yeah.
Right, sorry, apologies. In the 36th minute. Bruno Fernandes with a penalty in the 88th minute. And then Martinez to assist Diallo's goal in the 90th minute. Okay. Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Crystal Palace 3. Mark Gay with an own goal in the 87th minute. Trevor Chalobah in the 27th minute, assisted by Sarr. And as well as that, Sarr got 2 goals in the 33rd minute and the 82nd minute respectively, assisted by Mitchell and Eddie Nketiah. Okay. And finally, AFC Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1, Unite in the 90th minute, and Lucas Paqueta in the 87th minute.
Okay, moving into the EFL, we're starting on Friday night. 2 of the promoted teams, Paul Warne's derby versus John Mousinho's Portsmouth. Kind of thought, given recent form, that Portsmouth might have got something here. Absolutely not. They were demolished 4-0 by Derby, thanks to goals from Kane Wilson, Erin Cashin with an unbelievable header. I don't know. You watched the game, didn't you, Ben?
Yes, he
Ibu
did.
Adams and an own goal from Marlon Pack. It's quite good that this was the one to start off the weekend, because I remember when we did our pre-season kind of look at things, you, Ben, were the one that kind of vouched for both of these teams as one that we kind of have discussions about. And they've had very interesting seasons, if we let's just put it that way.
They have.
Moving on to Saturday, and we'll start with Bristol City 1, QPR 1. A goal from Scott Twine for Bristol, cancelled out by Paul Smith for QPR. Bit of an upturn in form for QPR. Happy to see it. We were just talking off air about how much we like Marty Cifuentes. Great manager. So, good for that. Another person who I'm glad to see getting opportunities higher up are the 2 managers that met when Coventry City hosted Hull. Now, Hull, of course, I haven't had a chance to talk about this yet. Well, but neither managers. Hull, of course, sacked Tim Volter, the end of heart attack football. It flatlined.
Never really got started, did it?
No, don't think they needed the defibrillator for that one. In the end, they prized Ruben Sellers away from Reading, which is very sad, because I've tried to highlight the Reading issues as much as I can. It's a great appointment for Hull, and I think he will turn things around. But they lost here. Frank Lampard getting his first home win, thanks to goals from Efron Mason-Clark, who I talked a lot about when we talked about Peterborough in the pre-season episode, and he's really come alive under Lampard. Jack Radoni got the winner for them as well. Lampard, great appointment. I do feel like we're going to talk about Oxford shortly for reasons that I don't want to spoil if you don't know. But I do feel like they might be kicking themselves, Oxford, for not taking a chance on Big Frank. Preston and Leeds played at a 1-1 draw. Brad Potts scoring the opener before Jack Watmow owned goal salvaged a point for Leeds. Blackburn Rovers beat Luton Town 2-0. Goals from Kozia Dubry on loan from Brighton and Owen Beck on loan from Liverpool. Liam Walsh coming on, getting sent off almost straight away. An absolute, just what a story. Hilarious, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so
It's a bit of a mess. Millwall, of course, parted company with Neil Harris recently. Some of his comments where he referred to Millwall fans and people involved with Millwall as thickos clearly didn't go down well. He played out his last game as manager away to Middlesbrough, who got the win thanks to a goal from Emmanuel Latte. Don't know what's going to go on there. I wish Neil Harris the best. I think he is a championship level manager, but the comments that he made were not the greatest, to be honest with you. Oxford hosted Sheffield Wednesday. They we'll get into the result and the scorers first. They took the lead thanks to Greg Lee, a player that I'm pretty aware of because he was on loan a couple of years ago at Crewe Alex. But Wednesday came back and showed some of that attacking threat that they do possess under Danny Roll, Josh Windass, Jamal Lowe, and JD Gassama with goals. That signalled the end of Des Buckingham's fairy tale reign with his boyhood Oxford United. Now, the reason why I mentioned Frank Lampard is I watched a podcast recently where David Jones of Sky talked about how when he was on the directors and involved with the football side, he had plenty of conversations with Frank Lampard before they appointed Michael Appleton, who I think was the manager before Buckingham, if I'm remembering rightly. That might be wrong. So I kind of feel like if Frank Lampard hadn't got the Coventry job, he might have been landing in Oxford. But there you go.
One of my best bits, sorry to interrupt you, George, but when you and Sam, when you were both filling in for me when I was ill, was it got a bit frisky between you two about Lampard when he was looking at the Coventry job.
That's right. I don't think Sam was very impressed, was he? No. He's certainly doing all right so far, though.
Yeah.
Another team doing all right is Sheffield United. Just seems to work, doesn't it, Chris Wilder? With the Blades, Gustavo Harmer and Kiefer Moore piling the pressure on Wayne Rooney's Pilgrims. Really surprised they've not sacked him yet, I'll be honest.
Mike Phelan has joined the coaching staff, hasn't he?
Yes.
I hadn't heard that. That's a good name.
Yes. And just on Plymouth, I watched Pie Face.
Yeah.
You may have heard the name, and he said, as a Plymouth fan, that Saturday against Sheffield United, he was pleased with how they played, and probably if they play like that, they should be all right. But he believes they need heavy investment.
I agree. I think that I can imagine Wayne Rooney will keep his job until probably the end of the transfer window. If it continues like this, I think he'll go soon. But I think they'll give him till at least the end of the window to try and sort things out. Another team that I'm quite surprised they haven't hired a manager yet is Cardiff City. They played out a 2-2 draw with Stoke. Andy Moran opening the scoring for the Potters before Anwar El Ghazi levelled things up for the Bluebirds.
The old
Arsenal. Something that we've talked about before, and stop me if you've heard this one before. Ben Gibson scored an own goal for Stoke City, which gave Cardiff a lead, and then in the 95th minute brought things level thanks to a goal at the right end. Ben Gibson saving Stoke's blushes going from zero to hero, and that's not the first time that's happened this
You can
season.
put
If
it
you're
on your
unaware of
bingo
what
card, folks.
I was referring to. The other one, and one of the games of the day for in the Championship for me, Swansea hosted Sunderland, and they were 2-0 up within 17 minutes. Zan Vipotnik with the opener, an unbelievable free kick from Liam Cullen, and then the comeback was on for Sunderland. Dan Ballard, Dan Neil, and Joe Bellingham. Who else to get the win for Sunderland? Wigan Athletic were away to Bolton Wanderers and got a very credible 2-0 win. Thanks to got some Dale Taylor and a bolt from Asgard, Taylor Asgard, with the second goal for Wigan. Leyton Orient and Burton Albion played out a goalless draw. More on them very shortly. We'll get to the latest on them. Birmingham hosted Bristol Rovers and won 2-0. Goals from Lee Buchanan and a Jay Stansfield penalty signalled the end of Matt Taylor's reign at Bristol Rovers.
Which you said a few weeks ago, Joe, about his job maybe being untenable. So it was interesting he survived as long as he did.
I think that one of the reasons that I'd sort of wanted to just say a little bit on this is his rise from, Exeter to then Rotherham, and the job he did at Exeter was fantastic.
I need to find a new Matt.
Yeah, I think that the Rotherham job went so poorly but he still had quite a lot of credit in the bank. And I was actually at Matt Taylor's first Bristol Rovers game. It was in the FA Cup against Crewe Alex, and they tore us apart. And I always felt that was a really good combination, but it's just not worked out. Similarly to Nathan Jones at Charlton, they played out a 0-0 draw with Mansfield. Did you like that? That was smooth, that wasn't it?
That was a good segue.
To continue the not so great form of Charlton under Nathan Jones, Barnsley travelled to Exeter and came from behind to win 2-1. Josh McGuinness with the opener for Exeter before Kelechi Nawali and Davis Keylor Dunn brought the game back to Barnsley. A 2-2 draw between Huddersfield and Lincoln saw Ben House and Danny Kadamar, not Danny, that's his dad, Bailey Kadamartri put Lincoln 2-0 up. And then in the second half, Brodie Spencer and Callum Marshall brought it back for Huddersfield to salvage a 2-2 draw from 2-0 down. Peterborough and Crawley played out a classic. Ricky J. Jones opening the scoring before Cian Hayes scored the first of his 2 goals in the 23rd minute, providing a second in the 61st. Adi Adeyemo made it 2-1 at the time. For Hector Cipriano made it 3-1. Then Will Swan and Shawumni made it 3-3. Before, as I said, the second goal from Cian Hayes. Now, we mentioned Reading, and they got rid of, they lost Ruben Sellers, should I say, to Hull. Big shame. Noel Hunt, ex-Reading player, took the reins for the visit of Blackpool, and they were put to the sword. Albie Morgan, Rob Apter, and Ashley Fletcher with goals for Blackpool. Rotherham hosted managerless Northampton and came away comfortable 3-0 winners. 2 goals for Jonathan Clark-Harris and a massive goal for Andre Green, who has had a lot of injury struggles recently.
Is that the player who was formerly of Aston Villa?
Good knowledge, yeah. Yes, it was, yeah. So I just wanted to say on Northampton, it was a couple of weeks ago now, but really shocked by the resignation of John Brady. Again,
Yes, I saw that.
a manager that's done great things for them, and it'd be interesting to see what direction they take. It was a Wickham reunion for former manager Gareth Ainsworth and his former captain Matt Bloomfield
Yeah, I
at
think it was
the
captain. Yeah.
yeah, at the Greenhouse Meadow. Wickham, an unbelievable story that just continues. They absolutely battered Shrewsbury here. 4-1 goals for Wickham from Labala, Taylor, Onyedinma, Dinma, and Dan Udo with a consolation from Jordan Shipley. Stockport were shocked away from home at Stevenage. Dan Kemp and Jamie Reid with the goals, with Callum Camps scoring for Stockport. There was a very big name in attendance at Wrexham. Channing Tatum
Wow,
was the
goodness me.
guest of Ryan Reynolds at the Stockcast, as it's called nowadays, and he wasn't able to see a win. Cambridge actually took the lead thanks to Elias Kachunga before James McLean equalised. Stephen Fletcher then put Wrexham ahead, former teammates, of course, McLean and Fletcher. And Dan Lundulu salvaged a point for Gary Monk's side in the 89th minute. Into League Two, Salford shocked Notts County at home 3-0. A goal from Connor McElhenney and then 2 from Cole Stockton. They're really, really going about their business well at the minute, Salford, climbing up the table slowly. I like what they're doing, and it seems like that it's finally starting to come together. Tranmere got the victory over Harrogate at home. John Daly opened the scoring for Harrogate in the 14th minute before Christian Dennis and Amari Patrick sealed the victory for Tranmere. Wimbledon got themselves a good home win against challenging Doncaster in a sort of a playoff battle. Matty Stevens with the only goal there. It continues to be a very difficult job for Ian Holloway at Swindon. They were beaten away at Bradford 1-0 thanks to a goal from Callum Kavanagh.
He had that. Don't know if you saw, but he had that passionate rant, if you like, almost saying to the fans, "Are you going to support us or what?" It was kind of.
I think that a fan had said something that he didn't like, and I think that's what sparked it off.
Typically in Holloway fashion, that.
I really like him, and I think it's a massive shame because I think it's a very tough job. Just to finish my point on Callum Kavanagh, his dad is the former manager Graham Kavanagh. Bromley got a very good point at home to Port Vale, 0-0.
You'll be licking your lips at that.
It is what it is. Chesterfield beat Carlisle 2-0 thanks to goals from Dylan Markanday and Will Grigg. As a name that I always like to see pop up on my video printer. Cheltenham continued their decent form to Morecambe. Arkell Jude Boyd with the opener and George Miller with the second. Colchester and Newport played out a 0-0 draw. Grimsby faced Crew Alex and I think it was at the time 4th versus 5th. And Crew Alex produced a fantastic counter-attacking performance. Goals from Jack Lancaster and Joel Kavanagh as the Alex moved into the final automatic promotion spot. They are playing tomorrow night at home to Colchester, so expect a more in-depth talk about that result next week. Both myself and Sam are supposed to be there, so looking forward to that one. MK Dons were beaten at home by Gillingham. Robbie McKenzie with the only goal there. And Walsall continued their unbelievable season as well. They hosted Barrow, and it was one goal that separated them, which was scored by Taylor Allen. Oh, just the Sunday games to go through now, and there were two of them. Watford hosted West Brom. A Vacuum Bayo double for Watford gave them the points. Jason Malumbi scoring for West Brom as well. And Norwich hosted Burnley. Norwich opened the scoring thanks to Cordoba in the second minute. But Zian Fleming and Josh Brownhill led the charge for Burnley. Fleetwood and Accrington faced each other. I've got no idea how to say last name, but we'll give it a go. Alo Joffrey gave Accrington the lead before it was cancelled out by Ryan Broom in the 52nd minute. Usually I would end the show at this point, but I'm pretty aware that it's the last show that we've got before Christmas, or the last proper show we've got before Christmas. So actually, there probably won't be any. There probably won't be a show next week to talk about the Krellis game. But yeah, so I'll hand over to Will and let Will do, the outro, as it were.
Thank you very much, Jordan, and great to have you back on the show, mate. We've really missed you, your swagger, your slickness, and really good to have you back, mate. So thank you. And also my thanks to Mr. Ben Carney. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, Will. Thank you for another show.
Yeah, it's been a good one. So, there's not going to really be a traditional show next week, but what there is going to be, it's going to be a best of, so there's some best bits, some bits that have never quite made it in, and some funny bloopers, because goodness me, one thing's for sure, if you know that I'm in the room, there's going to be a lot of cock-ups. And join us next time, where we'll discuss all things football, and of course, as ever, it'll be all without having kicked a ball. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.